These days, when you think of Miami, you think of neon-lit South Beach clubs and gleaming Brickell Avenue towers scraping the tropical sky. But long before Miami earned its reputation as a playground for the international jet set, there stood a wooden palace that first taught America's wealthy how to winter in style. Indeed, the Royal Palm Hotel, Henry Flagler's masterpiece of Victorian splendor, transformed a frontier trading post into a sanctuary for industrial titans and political power brokers. Rising 5 stories above the Miami River's mouth, this pioneering establishment introduced the city to such modern marvels as electric lights and elevators, while perfecting the art of luxury hospitality. And yet, in the year 1930, when wrecking balls finally silenced the Royal Palm's grand halls in 1930, they didn't just demolish a building, they erased the last physical trace of Miami's original golden age. In today's episode, we share the true story of this legendary hotel, from its ambitious conception to its dramatic demise, as we describe why Miami's most opulent hotel was demolished. The Royal Palm Hotel loomed large over Miami's nascent cityscape. 5 stories of unabashed opulence, topped with a 6th-floor salon that positively dripped with exclusivity. And in an age when most Floridians were still fumbling with gas lamps, this architectural triumph dazzled with Miami's first electric lights, while its groundbreaking elevators whisked guests skyward and its swimming pool offered respite from the tropical heat. Within its walls, 450 guest rooms and suites catered to the cream of society, with 100 rooms flaunting what was then the height of modern luxury, private baths. The main dining room seated 500 of the world's most influential figures, their champagne glasses tinkling amid the hum of deals being struck and secrets being shared. The amenities were naturally beyond reproach. Refined parlours hosted whispered conversations between titans of industry, while the billiards room echoed with the gentle crack of ivory balls and masculine laughter. The game rooms buzzed with strategic minds at play, but it was the 45-foot by 50-foot ballroom that truly captured the essence of high society revelry. An invisible army of 300 staff members, including 16 of the finest cooks money could secure, maintained this temple of luxury with military precision. Their efforts transformed mere hospitality into an art form, creating an atmosphere where even the most demanding guests found themselves thoroughly spoiled. The guest ledger reads like a catalogue of 20th century brilliance. John F. Kennedy strode these halls before ascending to the presidency, while Princess Margaret brought her particular brand of royal flair to the premises. Thomas Edison's genius illuminated more than just the hotel's pioneering electrical system, and F. Scott Fitzgerald's keen literary eye no doubt absorbed every decadent detail. Even baseball legend Babe Ruth traded his Yankees pinstripes for evening wear within these sophisticated confines. High society parties swirled through the hotel's spaces like champagne bubbles in a crystal flute, while political gatherings attracted power brokers who shaped Florida's destiny from the comfort of plush leather chairs. The Royal Palm Hotel wasn't merely Miami's first luxury establishment. It was the epicenter of power, privilege, and prestige in an age when such things were measured in private baths and electric lights. This was the Royal Palm at its magnificent peak, where innovation met indulgence, and every corridor whispered stories of wealth, influence, and unrestrained grandeur. In a city that would later become synonymous with luxury, the Royal Palm Hotel wrote the very first chapter in impeccable style. Yet this glittering monument to Gilded Age excess would ultimately succumb to time's relentless march, finally condemned to demolition in 1930. But before its dramatic fall, the Royal Palm needed to rise. And that ascent began with 2 visionaries who saw potential in a mosquito-laden wilderness where others saw only swamp. In the final breath of the 19th century, when American industrialists wielded more economic might than European monarchs, a most fascinating business arrangement materialized between railroad magnate Henry Flagler and the remarkably shrewd Julia Tuttle, Miami's founding mother. The year was 1895, and while most of Florida's developers were still chasing oranges and timber, these two visionaries saw something far more valuable: winter sunshine. And the deal was elegantly simple, yet economically brilliant. Tuttle, along with the influential Brickell family, would provide the land if Flagler would bring his railroad, and more importantly, his deep pockets, to transform a modest trading post into a winter paradise. The Royal Palm Hotel was the crown jewel of this grand bargain, strategically positioned at the mouth of the Miami River where the sweet waters met the azure expanse of Biscayne Bay. This wasn't merely about building another hotel. It was about creating an entirely new category of American leisure. While the wealthy industrialists of the Northeast huddled in their Manhattan brownstones, watching their breath freeze in the winter air, Flagler dangled before them an irresistible proposition: a freeze-free sanctuary where they could conduct business, forge alliances, and display their social prominence far from the sooty skies of Pittsburgh and Chicago. The timing couldn't have been more perfect. The Gilded Age was reaching its zenith, producing a new class of American millionaires faster than New York's finest tailors could stitch their suits. These captains of industry, these banking barons and railroad kings, weren't interested in modest accommodations. They demanded exclusivity, luxury, and most importantly, the company of their peers. Flagler, himself one of the era's most successful businessmen through his partnership with John D. Rockefeller in Standard Oil, understood precisely what his target market desired. The Royal Palm would be more than a hotel. It would be an unofficial winter boardroom for America's business elite, where deals could be struck on the veranda and alliances formed over brandy and cigars. The economic rationale was impeccable. While other Florida hotels depended on brief holiday visits, the Royal Palm was designed for extended stays, allowing wealthy families to escape the entire winter season. This meant steady, premium revenue streams that justified the hotel's lavish amenities and extensive staff. Moreover, the hotel's very existence would help transform Miami's economy. What was once a frontier outpost rapidly evolved into a sophisticated destination, with the Royal Palm serving as both catalyst and symbol of this metamorphosis. Julia Tuttle's original vision of a prosperous city rising from the Florida wilderness found its first major validation in the Royal Palm. Meanwhile, Flagler's investment proved that Miami's winter warmth could indeed be transformed into cold, hard cash. From the moment Joseph A. McDonald's construction crew broke ground, Miami's transformation from frontier outpost to luxury destination was set in motion. McDonald, who had already proven his metal-building Flagler's string of opulent hotels along Florida's coast, approached the Royal Palm project with characteristic precision and an almost obsessive attention to detail. The construction site buzzed with activity through 1896 as McDonald orchestrated a symphony of hammers, saws, and the occasional colorful curse word. And local Miamians watched in amazement as the structure grew ever higher, its wooden bones reaching skyward until the final nail was driven on the 16th of January, 1897. The grand opening on the next day, January 17th, was a masterclass in social engineering. In a stroke of diplomatic genius, the guest list merged two worlds that rarely intersected. 40 of Miami's original townspeople found themselves rubbing shoulders with the hotel's first wealthy guests. The resulting banquet was a fascinating study in contrasts. Sun-weathered pioneers in their Sunday best, alongside northern industrialists in fine silk and pearls. As gaslight gleamed off crystal glasses and silver cutlery, the evening represented the precise moment when Miami shed its frontier skin and emerged as something entirely new. Local merchants and farmers who had once traded at the mouth of the Miami River now dined in splendor, while wealthy visitors who might have previously dismissed Miami as a backwater were forced to reconsider their assumptions. The kitchen staff, already renowned from their previous positions at Flagler's other properties, produced a feast that would have been impressive even by New York standards. Each course served as a statement of intent. This wasn't merely a hotel opening, but the birth of a new era in American luxury tourism. As the evening drew to a close, even the most skeptical guests had to admit that MacDonald had outdone himself. The hotel's very existence challenged the notion that genuine luxury could only be found in long-established cities of the North. And for 3 remarkable decades, this beacon of sophistication would prove its point, hosting industrial titans, political kingmakers, and society's elite in unparalleled splendor. Yet beneath its polished veneer, unseen forces were already at work. Punishing tropical weather and the relentless march of progress would conspire to bring this palace of privilege to its knees. In the fickle world of luxury hospitality, even the mightiest establishments must eventually bow to time and circumstance. The Royal Palm Hotel's slow descent from its gilded throne began subtly, even as it continued to host some of the era's most significant gatherings. The spring of 1900 saw John D. Rockefeller and his Standard Oil executives conducting business in its elegant meeting rooms, while the winter months regularly transformed the hotel into an unofficial annex of Congress, with senators and representatives escaping Washington's chill for Miami's balmy embrace. And Henry Flagler made his final visit to his crowning achievement in early 1913, perhaps sensing that both his own time and the hotel's golden age were drawing to a close. He passed away that May, and though the Royal Palm maintained its prestigious position for several years following his death, the winds of change were already stirring. By the mid-1920s, Miami's explosive growth, the very prosperity the Royal Palm had helped create, began to work against it. Newer, more modern hotels rose from the bustling cityscape, each offering fresh interpretations of luxury that made the Royal Palm's Victorian grandeur seem increasingly dated. The city's social center of gravity began to shift, and the hotel that had once defined Miami's high society found itself struggling to maintain its position. Nature delivered the decisive blow in 1926 when a devastating hurricane battered the aging structure. The storm's fury exposed weaknesses that time and termites had quietly carved into the hotel's bones. The once proud building, which had hosted presidents and princesses, now stood wounded and vulnerable. The termite infestation, long held at bay by diligent maintenance, finally gained the upper hand, accelerating the structure's decline. Then, the final chapter arrived in 1930, when city inspectors, perhaps with heavy hearts, condemned the building that had once represented Miami's emergence onto the world stage. The demolition that followed wasn't merely the removal of a building, it was the end of an era. As wrecking balls swung and timber splintered, they erased not just a hotel, but a physical link to Miami's ambitious beginnings. Yet perhaps its greatest challenge was living up to its own legacy. Having set such high standards for luxury and social prominence, it became a victim of the very expectations it had created. In the end, the Royal Palm Hotel's 33-year reign as Miami's social sovereign came to a close, leaving behind memories of an age when luxury was measured not in technological amenities, but in the quality of conversation over dinner, the gentle rustle of palm fronds in the evening breeze, and the quiet confidence of a city coming into its own. The Royal Palm Hotel's influence on Miami's character and destiny extends far beyond its brief 33-year existence. This pioneering palace of hospitality effectively wrote the blueprint for modern Miami, establishing patterns of luxury, social hierarchy, and seasonal tourism that continue to define the city well into the 21st century. Consider the mathematics of wealth that the Royal Palm perfected. Take northern fortune, add southern sunshine, multiply by social exclusivity, and the result is an entirely new economic model. This formula proved so successful that it transformed Miami from a frontier trading post into America's premier winter playground. Every luxury hotel that followed, from the Fontainebleau to the Biltmore, owes an unspoken debt to to the Royal Palm's original calculus of opulence. The hotel's true genius lay in its creation of a new social ecosystem. By providing a sophisticated environment where industrial titans could mix business with pleasure, it established Miami as more than just a warm weather escape. It became an essential stop on the circuit of power and influence. Modern Miami's status as a nexus for international business and high-level deal-making can be traced directly back to those early days when Standard Oil executives and congressional delegations roamed the Royal Palm's corridors. More subtly, the hotel's influence shaped Miami's architectural and cultural aspirations. Its presence demanded a certain level of refinement from the surrounding city. Fine shops, cultural venues, and sophisticated entertainment venues all sprouted in its wake. This pattern of luxury developments attracting additional upscale amenities continues to shape Miami's growth, from South Beach to Brickell Avenue. The Royal Palm also established Miami's reputation for reinvention and renewal. Its eventual demolition, while tragic, demonstrated that the city would not cling sentimentally to past glories, but would continuously evolve to meet new standards of luxury and sophistication. This willingness to rebuild and reimagine itself has become one of Miami's defining characteristics. Perhaps most significantly, the Royal Palm Hotel proved that audacious visions could become reality in Miami. When Henry Flagler and Julia Tuttle first conceived their plan for a luxury hotel in what was essentially wilderness, it seemed like pure fantasy. Their success emboldened generations of subsequent developers and entrepreneurs, fostering Miami's reputation as a city where ambitious dreams can materialize into concrete reality. Today, as Miami stands as a global symbol of luxury and glamour, it's worth remembering that this identity was first crystallized in the halls of the Royal Palm Hotel. While the physical structure may have vanished into history, its legacy lives on in every luxury hotel, every international business deal, and every winter visitor who trades northern snow for southern sunshine. The Royal Palm didn't just serve Miami's elite, it helped create the very idea of Miami itself. And now, we'd love to see you in the comments. Are you a native of Miami or the greater Florida area? Or, alternatively, have you visited that lovely area? We can't wait to hear your thoughts, and as always, thanks for joining us for another episode of Old Money Mansions. And cheers, until next time.